Seriously, what do I have to do to make this work? That is what the speaker is saying in both the first reading and the gospel. Seriously, what do I have to do to make this work? The guy in the first reading had a well-cared-for vineyard. He had, we're talking new vines, a brand new wine press, the works. And when it came harvest time, the grapes were not usable for wine. So the first reading talks about this guy in frustration, talking about just giving up and leaving the vineyard to the elements, because nothing good came of it in spite of all the hard work he put into it. Now, for the gospel reading, the problem of the landowner wasn't so much the vineyard itself, but the tenants working on the vineyard. All right? I mean, they were being terribly selfish. I mean, they were being absolutely abusive of the landowner's trust, to the point where they would beat up and kill the guy's son to get the family's wealth. I mean, that's horrible, right? It's horrible. Now, of course, that poor son is supposed to be Jesus, and therefore the landowner is God the Father. So the question remains, what sort of servants and tenants are we supposed to be? And remember, the phrase of the day is, seriously, what do I have to do to make this work? All right, it's like God is saying that to us. You know? It's like he's saying, come on, humanity, after all that I've done for you, you're still going to beat up my servants and messengers? That's rude. And when are you going to get going and do the work that I've asked you to do? What do I have to do to make this work? As you know, the longer we leave that, the longer we ignore that message from him, the worse it's going to be. So all I want to do today is give you two modern-day examples of how we can still be the bad tenants of the vineyard. And the first example comes by way of the universal reaction of the American people to taxes. Let's be honest with ourselves here. Taxes are ugly business. Nobody wants to be paying taxes. Everyone thinks they're paying more than they should be. Not here to say whether that's true or not. But I learned something. I learned something in college during my political science minor. And by the way, the most important thing I ever learned in my political science minor is that I hate politics, and I never want to work with political science ever, no matter what. I am very thankful for that. That is a good lesson to learn early in your life. Anyway, what I learned was that we, the American people, have never elected a president who said he would raise taxes. It has never happened, not once. The last guy to honestly try went by the name of Michael Dukakis, and he ran against George Bush Sr. in 1988. Now, don't you worry, I know everything there is to know about that election cycle because I was 6. It was very straightforward for me. As a matter of fact, we had a mock voting at my school, and the school voted for George Bush, and I thought that was the reason he became president. Politics exist in the mind of a 6-year-old in such a way. Anyway, so for those of you that actually remember that election cycle, George Bush Sr. had a fantastic soundbite. Read my lips, no new taxes. Ooh, that's good. People love to hear that. Well, Michael Dukakis, again, his main opponent, he had a very daring message. He said on numerous occasions, I'm going to raise taxes because it's got to be done. I will keep them as low as I possibly can, but they're going to be raised. It has to be done. So whichever one of us you elect will raise taxes. He's lying to you. I am not. Obviously, George Bush won the election, and I don't remember exactly how long it took, but during his 4-year presidency, he did raise taxes. It was a fiscal necessity. It was something beyond the control of a president, let alone a presidential candidate. And the moral of the story isn't that Michael Dukakis would have been a better president. I have no idea whether or not that would be true. I have no idea how to even evaluate that. But the point here is that Michael Dukakis has my respect and my pity because he tried to show integrity and honesty in politics, and that's a long shot gamble at the best of times. In a roundabout way, he shared in the suffering of Christ because he was mocked and discarded by the very people he was trying to help for the sake of a hard truth. And we hate hard truths. All right? We don't want to hear anything that involves us working harder or sacrificing something. We hate hard truths so much that we'll sometimes take it out on the messenger itself. And when that happens, we are indeed very much like the bad tenants of the vineyard. The second example I want to give comes by way of many a failed relationship. And I'm not talking anything specific. I'm talking marriages. I'm talking simple romances. I'm even talking about business relationships. Because many of you know what it feels like to work and work and work and work to make a relationship function without any proportional effort being given by the other person. It's like all the work is being done by you. It's like the other person wants the two of you to fail. And again, if you feel that way, I'm willing to bet that you said out loud, or at least to yourself, seriously, what do I have to do to make this work? And if you don't find a solution, eventually, when you've tried everything to no avail, you will pass out from frustration and say, all right, I get it, we're breaking up, I give up, I can't do this anymore, you win, I guess. And it's so disappointing to really try to build something up that's worthwhile, something bigger than yourself, whether it be a vineyard, a marriage and a family, or a thriving business, and have all of your efforts come to nothing. Sometimes, like in the first reading, it's because of the grapes. It's not anybody's fault in particular. And other times, it's because your fellow workers are selfish and not helping you when you need the help. Again, that's what it means to be a bad tenant. Now, I asked a few minutes ago, what kind of servant or tenant are we meant to be today? Well, maybe what it means to be a good tenant is to understand that a hard truth is going to come our way every so often. And every so often we are going to be asked to sacrifice something, or pay more taxes than we want to, or do more work than we already are. Sometimes that's for the sake of the landowner, but sometimes it's for the sake of the vineyard itself.